So we know that actors have to distance themselves after living inside of a character, but you're the writer and the director. I'm curious to know if you had to do something similar with this piece.
I think it was more just the when it's all in the can and all finished, the entire film ready to go to the festivals. It was kind of like letting your kind of
My name is Elisa. If you're seeing my face for the first time, welcome back to Sunday Morning Juice. Today I am joined by Jonny, the writer director for a short film called G.S.W., an amazing short film, and we will be diving into that. But first, I would like to know if you were at a party and you could only introduce yourself as a writer or a director, which one would you pick and why?
That's a good question. I would have said a writer because my background has always been as a writer. I came through as a writer, and I kind of went into directing as more of a necessity to get my work made, really. So I would definitely still call myself a writer, really.
Okay. So would you say like you like it more than directing, or like has directing it's become something you like as much just as much?
Yeah, I kind of the most enjoyment I get from it is when I see the final edit. But whilst I'm on set, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say I disliked it either. I think it's just I'm not naturally an outgoing person that's got to speak in front of a lot of people all the time. So when you're on set and everyone's looking at you for answers and things like that, it can be at least well, the first time it was a bit daunting. But this is my second go around now, and I'm much more comfortable with it now.
GSW is a film about a man dying from a gunshot wound when the paramedic treating him discovers he's the perpetrator of a school shooting at her child's primary school. And this puts her in an impossible situation. This is a film that takes you on an emotional roller coaster, and I felt that the subject matter was very vulnerable. Do you remember the first conversation you had with your lead actress, Genevieve, about the risk the script takes?
Yes, I do. We sent it to her, and probably within 48 hours, she wanted to speak to me about it. So that was really that quick. And she really had a lot of emotional gravitated towards it because she has children herself, and incidents at schools and things like that are not very common in the UK where we are. So I think it kind of was every parent's worst nightmare. And I think she really kind of responded to that. And she brought her own kind of spin on some of the lines and some of the stuff that we were doing. So yeah, it was a really good conversation. And I'm so glad that she came aboard.
Yeah, the emotions were absolutely amazing. I feel like I could read so much just from her face. How did
She
the
was great.
story come about?
That's a good question. I kind of retraced my steps when I was kind of coming up with it because it all was really subconscious. And where I am in my life now, my little boy has just started school, so I must have had some kind of fears coming to the surface when I was writing and things like that. That were just not really at the front of my mind. But then, obviously, when you start thinking and writing and tap into your own experience, that was obviously what came to the top. But also, my parents are both medical professionals, and my mum was a nurse for a while. So we always had stories when we were growing up, me and my siblings, that everything that was ever a stressful story was always a medical story. Of people in pileups and accidents, or sudden heart attacks and things like that. So when I must have kind of put that idea of medical stress and my son starting school together in my mind, and just took it from there really, and it kind of just developed over a couple of drafts, and we got to where we are with it. Yeah,
Yeah, nice. I haven't seen any story like it before, so I definitely can tell that it was connected to you in some way.
yeah, yeah. I think everything I write is always kind of starts with me and how I view the world or kind of personal experience and things like that. Just because it feels more authentic, and I can write. I know they say they write about what you know, but I think for me the emotional reality of a lot of stuff informs a lot of the situations that I write about, just because I know what it feels like, or touch on certain things and things like that. So yeah, it comes. It's something that was ready to come out.
Right. And on the topic of feelings, were the emotional scenes like extensively rehearsed, or would you say that that was something that they were able to produce on shoot day and you just had the trust?
It was definitely the latter. The prep time was so short. We didn't have Genevieve for very long, and we did a table read the day before, and did all the costume fittings and things like that. And then went on the day. We only shot for one day, and we shot chronologically. So we were going start of the script to the end of the script. We were basically doing rehearsal, shoot, rehearsal, shoot, rehearsal, shoot, pretty much the entire day. Some of the scenes took a couple more rehearsals, like moving like stretches and things like that. But all the kind of the emotional beats, we kind of did it once as rehearsal, and then we just filmed it. And they were remarkable. Those two actors and Duncan as well on the stretcher, all three of them were just remarkable. And because we were so up against it for time, having two or three talented actors that were just nailing everything, it made my life so much easier. And I remember looking at the monitor in a couple of takes, thinking, how do I tell them any direction after that? Because it was just so perfect what they were doing, and they were so talented. So yeah, it's a good film as it is because of the people in it, I think.
Yeah. That final moment of the scene, like I would say like the final 3 minutes, there is so much said and there's literally no dialogue at all. What was being on set and like even, well, you said you didn't have to direct them much, but like what was that conversation like for those final moments of the film?
Well, it's kind of all of it was on the page really, and the kind of I just said, well, actually, we took out a few bits of dialogue in the table read the day before because I was confident we didn't really need it because seeing them just inhabit those characters. So we took a few bits out and we just let the camera just linger because it's quite a frantic camera movements a lot of the times. But when it got to that point, we just had it on their faces and it said 1,000 words to me because they were just, Genevieve's expressions. You could kind of get every beat of what she was saying, the thought process and how she just reacted and reacted well, reacted badly, and all this kinds of stuff was just all there, and it was perfect.
If you could go back to the first day of pre-production, what is one tip you would give yourself about directing this specific story?
I would say try and have 2 day shoots rather than one, but I think to be honest, it kind of added to the pace of the shooting because everything was quite frantic and stressful. I don't know, you might have had to ask the actors this, but it certainly felt like the stress levels, although it wasn't out of control, but you could tell we were up against it a lot and kind of having a stressful situation whilst filming a stressful situation. It probably, in the subtext of the whole day, I think it probably might have actually helped in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. And were there any major changes from pre-production or even the writing stage to the final edit?
Not really. We got to where we are quite quickly with the drafts. There's maybe another minute's worth of dialogue that I chopped out where there was a part where Genevieve's character starts getting quite emotional and starts kind of tearing up before she kind of snaps into a different emotion. But it just didn't feel like quite authentic of the journey of a character, so we kind of chopped out about a page's worth. But that was really early on. Genevieve never saw that draft anyway. But it's pretty much as it was on the page as to how we shot. Yeah.
Amazing. And what did making GSW do for you as a filmmaker?
I think it gave me a lot of things to take forward in the future. And I think the biggest one is just to let the experts do their thing because even with the DOP, Rory, he's a super experienced DOP. He's just shot Eternity with Miles, well, it was a few years ago now, but he shot Eternity with Miles Teller and Callum Turner and Elizabeth Olsen. So he's a really experienced DOP. And I just kind of let him come to me with what the best thing he thought for certain bits were. Again, with the actors, in the table read, she kind of said, I want to make it a bit more spiky and cold at the start because on the page she was quite a warm, mothering kind of character. She said that's too much of a transition. I think she should be quite kind of, short with her kind of attitude, which again made the character completely different, but it made it so much better because I feel that it's more of a believable journey. Just letting people do their thing or come to you with ideas that you can take on board and let the people who know what they're doing and how to do it have space to breathe and be open to their interpretation of things is what I would say.
Nice. So we know that actors have to distance themselves after living inside of a character, but you're the writer and the director. So I'm curious to know if you had to do something similar with this piece.
I think it was more just when it's all in the can and all finished, the entire film ready to go to the festivals. It was kind of like letting your kind of creation do its thing now after a while, because you've done everything you needed to do, you've got it, the edit in a place that you want, and now it's just kind of just letting it find its audience and things like that. I didn't really make it for any prizes at festivals, but I just made it to hope that people who saw it kind of remembered it, and I think that it's achieved what I set out to do. So hopefully the audience, when they see it, kind of connects with it, and hopefully the audience gets bigger over time and things like that. So yeah, it's just kind of letting it go. Really, I think is the overriding feeling that I had at the end. Yeah.
Totally. And then have you gotten any unexpected responses to the film? Anything that stood out?
Yeah, I mean, even talking to you is a big thing. So I didn't really think it would really go beyond the UK, maybe a handful of festivals over here, but it's about to go into its fifth festival in the US, it's, and things like that. So people seem to be really connecting with it, and we've been, so regular on the festival scene over in the UK as well. So yeah, I'm just really overwhelmed by the response to it, because you never really know how it's going to be received. When you do anything creative, you kind of do it for yourself and just kind of hope for the best, really. And it's been a really positive experience so far. And we're only kind of 4 months into a 12-month, hopefully, fingers crossed, 12-month festival run. So yeah, hopefully we'll see a few more audiences, and hopefully I'll hear a few more things about the film. Yeah.
Totally. And then what's one thing you desperately hope audiences take away from the film when the credits roll?
I think just remembering it, I think, is the thing. Having an emotional reaction to something is so powerful, and hopefully, I've spoken to people who've seen it. I've been in audiences when people have watched it. There've been gasps, and there's been shock, and there's been people come up to after me who's completely shell shocked by it, which is actually really encouraging as a filmmaker, because you want people to kind of remember it, particularly at festivals, normally in a block of 5 or 6 other films and things like that. So to hear people hear that it resonated with them is really, really nice to hear. And also, I think parents as well, and they have a different reaction to people who don't have kids. And also, I've now been in the US a few times. American audiences who live with these kind of incidents on an alarming regular basis. They seem to connect to it even more, because it's more of a reality for people in the US. So everywhere it's shown, everyone seems to bring their own thing to it, which I think is something I didn't really expect. Really, I just made it for myself. So it's been quite unique an experience. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I'm a writer also, and I plan to direct my first short film this year. So I'm really excited to talk to you and get more insight. Has there ever been a moment where you were at odds with yourself as a writer from a director's standpoint, or vice versa? Or have you noticed that those two things kind of work more cohesively for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote it, I didn't really think of how I was going to shoot it. I just got the story out. And then once I kind of got the finance and things were starting to move, I had to then look again at the whole thing again and just say, how am I going to do this? Because I think as a writer, you kind of, someone like me anyway, who's a writer first rather than a director, you just kind of think of the story. And even when we were starting to kind of do the pre-production, it was still quite a thing in the distance. I didn't really have to think about it very much. But then Genevieve came on board, and she's like, right, the only time I can shoot is this particular week in May. So we were only 5 weeks before that when I spoke to her. So in 5 weeks' time, I'm on set. In that 5 weeks, I had to deconstruct everything. How am I going to do this? I had to speak to Rory again, the DOP, and had some ideas, look at reference that we wanted to kind of use as influence, and all those kind of things that I really kicked down the line. And now suddenly came back and hit me again. I wouldn't think I'd do anything differently. I think it's always be story first, and then work out it after, this stuff afterwards, which I think is the best way around to do it, because I don't want to second guess myself and think, well, and dilute it and take things out because of my director hat. I'd rather keep them in and work it out rather than, try to think too far ahead. So yeah, I don't think I'd do anything differently, actually.
Okay. No, I mean, I feel like it sounds like you're taking a lot of valuable information every time you're on set. So, you know,
Mm.
I can totally.
Yeah, yeah, and I think actually because it's all in the back of an ambulance, I think that was the biggest problem, but also the biggest strength, because there's only so many places you can put a camera when there's people in a stretcher with another 6'6" guy in the middle. So we kind of used that as almost lent into that as a style point, and we looked at the work of like Paul Greengrass and the way he, is almost documentary with his kind of camera work and picking people out and moving around. And the last scene of Captain Phillips, where Tom Hanks is having a medical exam, you saw the way that he moved around the room and picked out certain people. So that really kind of helped because we didn't really have any space to put a tripod down. We couldn't move the camera, here and here. It was all very much handheld, and the style kind of dictated the way the setting dictated the style. And so we kind of all just blended together really nicely, really. I don't know if it worked so well if I got a big shoot with lots of multiple locations and things like that, but for this, it worked really nicely, I think.
Totally. And it was like a frantic vibe the whole film.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that you would ever make that into a feature film, or do you think the story feels complete?
I kind of wrote it as a self-contained thing. It was never going to be like a proof of concept for a bigger thing. But I've had that question a few times now, and I kind of got a few ideas in the back of my mind. I mean, if it really takes off over the festival season, and it connects with people, then maybe it's something that I'll look at. But it wasn't ever designed to be that way. We'll just have to see what happens, I think.
Yeah, I love not knowing. Like, it was like the perfect place to end the film, even though like my heart was beating so fast.
Thank you. Yeah. I think we did actually. My initial idea, it had a few scenes after that where it kind of carries on for a few more beats. But I thought, I only spoke to the producer Harvey, again, super experienced guy, Oscar nominee. He said, "Now chop it there because it just leaves everything a bit more open. You don't know what character is going to make what choice," and it was the right call, I think.
If we were sitting here 1 year from today, what do you hope we're talking about?
Wow. Hopefully that it's had a really good run and people have seen it and connected with it. And it's just, found its audience really. I don't really have any more expectations than that. I think if you try and make a film with, expectations too far down the line, then I think you're always going to be disappointed. I just made the film I wanted to make and see from there really. But yeah, who knows? A year's a long time, isn't it? So it might have, got more momentum behind it. I've got no idea.
I mean, we're literally only 3 weeks into January, so it is actually the longest time it could be.
Yeah, and we only had the first festival showing in middle of September, so we haven't been going very long. So yeah, we've got hopefully a few more to go in the next 8 or 9 months, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I am so excited for the festival season, and I'm excited for you guys too. It has been amazing to talk to you. I'm going to stay
Thank you.
connected with you guys with your journey. Do you have a website or an Instagram that the people
Yeah,
can follow along?
yeah, we're on Instagram. GSW_film is our kind of social media presence. So all the behind the scenes, all the kind of cast and all that kind of stuff, and festivals are all on that page. So yeah, just check us out.
Johnny, it's been so amazing talking to you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, we can do it.